Now, mid-90s, I learned about Dooyeweerd and his aspects, and I found them very useful for understanding what usefulness of information systems is. I also found it useful for understanding what a good information systems development procedure is. I also found it useful for understanding the different arguments going on in artificial intelligence on, is a computer like a human being? And I started building what's called the Dooyeweerd pages. Mainly to have something on the internet, and that's www.dooy.info. They're information pages. They started mainly as 15 different pages, one for each aspect, as the people in Sweden and I discussed what the aspects were and what they meant. And it's expanded from there. And I discovered that Herman Dooyeweerd, as a philosopher, was not just interested in what the aspects were. In fact, his primary interest was much deeper than that, and trying to show and demonstrate the religious presuppositions that underlie all thinking. And I've expanded into that, and from that I've gone to other philosophers like Habermas and Heidegger and so on. But I'll always come back to Dooyeweerd. But from the point of view of people working in the various fields, this is extremely interesting. It's extremely interesting because the world is becoming interdisciplinary, and that gives an ability to work within, across the disciplines like none other. It's extremely interesting because the world is going away, is questioning the primacy of theoretical thought, and wants to recognize everyday life, wants to recognize new ways of knowing, tacit knowledge, and all these things. And these can indicate lots of different ways of knowing, only one of which, the analytic, is theoretical, and only one of which, the lingual, is explicit. The others are tacit. I've got a PhD student, just started his PhD, who is developing a new theory of tacit knowledge based on these. The world finds this interesting because it gives us a different way of analysis, what I call a spectral analysis, although there's different types. If you do a survey, what questions do you ask? Has anyone here done surveys? Yeah? Okay, how do you make up your questions? You work out what you want to ask. Okay, how do you work out what you want to ask? According to what's meaningful. What's likely to be meaningful to the people you're asking, and what's meaningful to you as a researcher. Okay? But how do you as a researcher know what's likely to be meaningful? What I find is that if Dooyeweerd is correct in his suggestion that these aspects, or something like them, he never claimed that this is the set of aspects. In fact, he said this is definitely not the set. That is like a first best guess. If we were to take these as things that are meaningful to people in their lives, then and organise our surveys according to these aspects, then we might get broader coverage and not miss things that are important, like many surveys do. So the world is finding Dooyeweerd's aspects very useful.
You said, you have come at Dooyeweerd from the disciplinary end, as you mapped in terms of your biography. Yeah. You've come at it from terms of there are real problems in the world. Yeah, and that seems to me to resonate very strongly with what, well, Sivo, among others, would say the genius of reformational philosophy. It starts with and is accountable to everyday experience.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it says, you know, science is not a law, or science in the broader sense is not a law unto itself. It's not inward-looking. It is rooted in and accountable to ordinary experience. The challenge that I take from that for the Institute for Business Studies is, well, we said we are dedicated to exploring the philosophical foundations of disciplines in order to prepare people to be to teach in colleges and universities in the various disciplines, whereas what we have tended to do over the last decade or more, and this is a description, is become more and more purely philosophical, and less, you said, how can you test this intuition?
Yes.
I'm not sure that we, as a group, one of our senators said to me once, well, philosophy is not about the empirical. It seems to me that philosophy is and should be, from a Dooyeweerdian, shall we say, perspective, about the empirical.
Mm-hmm.